So a very good day to everyone and a very warm welcome. I think today we have regions joining us where the temperature is in the minuses. I see somewhere even up to -17. And we have other regions joining us today where the hottest temperature for the day was recorded at 42 degrees. So wherever you are, thanks for joining. I hope you are at least comfortable where you are attending from. It's my pleasure today to present the secure HTML5 component for Adroit and Maps projects. So the Secure Mobile Gateway, or SMG for short, runs on any device with HTML5 support. So if you think about HTML5 browsers, it has been tested on Safari, on Edge, on Chrome, and on Firefox. But it should be compatible with any HTML5 enabled web browser. I've heard people say it works on Opera and it works on other browsers that uses the Chrome engine. So any browser, whether it's running on your iPad or on your Android device, on your laptop, is most probably HTML5 compliant already. So the SMG runs on any device with HTML5 support. This includes Apple, Android, Linux, and Windows. And the SMG supports all the functionality of Adroit and Maps, so the full operator. Those are real screens that you see there on the iPad and on a Samsung device. This is not a limited version of the operator. Anything you can see on your normal PC desktop, on your server, you can also see on the device itself. There are two versions of the SMG available. The first one is the on-cloud version. So this is the data center version, which we host. And it's literally click and go. It's 3 steps, and you will have your operators running on the cloud. And you'll get a secure URL to access your project. Then we also have the on-premise version. This is where a customer would host this internally within their IT infrastructure. And then they are responsible for setting up the access points, and they have full control over that as well. The SMG is supported from Adroit 10 and Maps 4 and onwards. So this slide just shows we have one design environment. The picture on the left is I've just opened the designer. I've opened one of the example projects that shipped with the product. And I'm editing within this design environment. And if I save this graphic form, it will display the same on the iPad at the top, on the Samsung device at the bottom, on your laptop. You will see the same graphic form. It's the same graphic that's displayed on all devices. I do have certain projects where I've worked on as well, where I noticed that the end user has designed a separate project for touch-based devices, where you maybe have a larger button so it's easier to access. That is also possible, but the bottom line is you have one design environment and you can choose whether you want a different project or whether you want to use the same project for all surfaces. All the standard touch-based functions are supported. So pinching, where I make it a little bit smaller perhaps, panning, moving across, zooming in and out. The standard things that you would expect on a touch-based device is supported on the Secure Mobile Gateway as well. In the right-hand graphic, you'll notice I've just zoomed in and then I've panned across a little bit. So you can always do this on the same graphic if you want. If something is slightly too small, you would zoom in on it, pan across, and you can just click on it like you would normally do for touch. And if you use a laptop, for example, or a desktop, or a PC-based device with a mouse, then you'll see the mouse cursor, and you can use it like that. The Secure Mobile Gateway also offers the ability to configure a predefined scaling resolution. it will then attempt to fit the project into this predefined size. So it always fits all display surfaces. You'll notice that the iPad and the Samsung actually have different resolutions. They don't have the same ones. And if a display surface does not support a given resolution, in this example, I've said force a web client scaling of 1920 by 1080, which is Full HD. If it does not support this resolution, the SMG will try and display as much detail as possible, either via additional scroll bars, so you'll notice scroll bars on those devices that cannot support the resolution, or it will pinch it, so it will actually make it slightly smaller to automatically fit the resolution on that device. If the device has a larger resolution, it will scale up to a point where the aspect ratio matches. And then you'll see these black bars at the top and the bottom because the aspect ratios are perhaps different to the resolution that has been defined. I've had this question several times. So the SMG supports both the Smart UI and the Classic UI. Here we have two examples. This is on an iPhone 5S. It's a very, very old iPhone. But on the left-hand side, you'll notice there's a Smart UI project. And on the right-hand side, a Classic UI project. These are live examples, and you can zoom in and out, pinch and pan in the same way for both. This is a quick note on Adroit Air. So for those that don't know, Adroit Air provides real-time alarms and notifications to mobile devices. So if you go to the App Store on Android or iPhone, for example, you can type in Adroit Air and you can install the app. And this is similar to getting for example, a WhatsApp notification or a message. You'll see the notification, you'll hear the notification sound on your device. So Air is specifically there to provide a access point on mobile devices for real-time alarms and notifications. However, it does not allow for the acknowledgement of alarms. So I can see the alarms on Air over here, but I still need to acknowledge this. And the latest version of Adroit Air, which is also part of Maps 4 and Adroit 10, is an option at the bottom there. You'll see I've just selected the Settings tab. And here I can configure a URL. And if I then click on the alarm in Adroit Air, so I just click on that message that's popped up, or I open Air and I click on the display surface where the alarms are, then it will actually take me to the URL that I've specified. So on the right-hand side, this is a alarm view that's been designed specifically for mobile devices. So it has a much larger font size. It has a big button at the bottom, which I can click on easily to acknowledge all alarms. And this tries to tie everything together nicely. I get my notification in Air for the alarms that I've specified, and I can click on that section in Air to take me to an alarm window that I've designed. Of course, everything here is secure. I can log in with a specific user, which only allows for viewing of alarms and not acknowledgement. This is still all part of the standard product. In this case, all we've done is we've used the secure mobile gateway. The view on the right-hand side is actually a view of a graphic form with an alarm viewer on it that is just designed for mobile display. So nice and large, and I can acknowledge alarms if I want to. And just at the bottom here, we see the settings. That's where I configure that URL. That URL I can also use for Performance Anywhere. And this slide quickly discusses Performance Anywhere. So Performance Anywhere is also an HTML5 lightweight, very cost-effective web client that's also offered for Adroit and Maps. I've got a little screen there. It just shows a line chart, a graph, and it offers within Performance Anywhere. I have a design and runtime functionality directly within a browser. So Air allows me to design in the browser and to view what I've designed in the same browser. It's, as we said, very lightweight. So it runs on for example, devices that only have a browser installed, and the same for Secure Mobile Gateway, but it's also very cost effective. But one of the difficulties when configuring Performance Anywhere is when you manage public access, when you manage domain names and URLs, when you have to open ports and discuss with your IT department what firewall configuration is required. All of these things and other security measures require additional configuration. Even the management of a digital certificate. So for example, when you have HTTPS support, and I would like to provide HTTPS functionality for my Performance Anywhere, this is difficult to configure. So it's not necessarily Performance Anywhere, but it is the surrounding technologies, the surrounding ecosystem that supports it. And with the Secure Mobile Gateway, together with Performance Anywhere, it's possible to manage everything around it, the digital certificates, public access, other security requirements, automatic management of domain name, URL access. So if you notice, we can use the Secure Mobile Gateway to, let me just turn on my pointer. This URL here will be created for you, and it's a public URL that you can provide to the people that you want access to Performance Anywhere, and it also installs and manages a digital certificate for you. So the Secure Mobile Gateway and Performance Anywhere can work together. Let's turn this off. A quick overview of the difference between the two versions of the Secure Mobile Gateway. So we said we have on cloud and we have on premise. With on cloud, your operators run within a hosted data center. They actually host it there, and the scaling and provisioning, the management of digital certificates, the denial of service protection, everything is automatically configured on cloud. On the on-premise side, this is something you would configure within your own ecosystem at the end user site. It will be installed there. It's flexible in terms of support for additional plugins, but all the surrounding items such as digital certificates, other security services, firewall configuration, this all needs to be provided on site. Coming back to on cloud, the cost for the on cloud version is a Performance Anywhere client license. So this is a low cost client license, but there is an annual fee that you need to pay for because it's a hosting service. There's actually a service that's provisioned for every end user where this is set up automatically, and there's an annual fee associated with license, and you may also require Windows client access licenses in certain cases. Coming back to on cloud, it comes with Adroit Air. So we previously discussed the app that you can install on your mobile devices, providing alarm notifications. This is Adroit Air. The on-cloud version comes with those licenses already. The on-premise version, if you require Adroit Air, you would need to purchase it as part of your default installed license. And then lastly, as we said, on cloud, all the security infrastructure, this is managed automatically by us. And if you do on-premise, that responsibility relies with the system integrator, with the IT department, and with the end user. This is all managed on-premise. Just a note about the AES 256 encryption. These are industry standard encryption technologies. Both the on-cloud version and the on-premise version runs with these encryption technologies. So all communication between client and server can be encrypted. So just to summarize, the Secure Mobile Gateway runs on any device with HTML5 compliant web browser. So this includes Edge, Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Safari. You get all the functionality of the operator. I've just in this example, trying to provide a tablet view and a mobile device view. So there's an iPad and a Samsung mobile device. The on-cloud version is released already. So if you would like to use the on-cloud version, it's available. The on-premise version is planned for release as part of the product in the first quarter of next year. So it will be part of a release of the actual product. And then the license for this functionality is just you need to add it to your actual software license if you require it. And in the on-premise version, the only license cost is essentially a client license, because whether you use a standard installed client or whether you use a browser, it just uses a client license. So if you have a question, how can I get this for my project? I've provided 2 email addresses. You're welcome to contact any of those, whether you use Maps or whether you use Adroit. And you can also request a free trial license for the cloud version. You get 14 days on any project, and you can test it and make sure it works for you and whether you're happy with the functionality. Currently with the on-premise version, it's not released yet, but we are doing assisted installations. This just means we have a customer that allows us access to a specific environment where we can install the product together with the end user or with the system integrator. We can go through the functionality, make sure it works. We can iron out any possible details that we didn't think about for the on-premise version. So this is before release, but you are welcome to request if you want to be part of the on-premise release candidate testing. I then have an example quickly in terms of a live example very quickly. I can just show you if this is running at the moment. Sorry, let's go back. Just opening a browser. Okay, so here I'm using Chrome, and there's a URL at the top, and I have a view of a live project over here, and you can see it's trying to scale to the size that I'm dragging it to. So I'm dragging at the top left corner. I'm just making it bigger. And the idea here is that the secure mobile gateway will try and fit the information into the resolution that I've provided. In this case, I said the aspect ratio is 19201080. That's the resolution. If you calculate the ratio, you can just divide the two. And it's trying to fit it, maintaining that aspect ratio all the time. And if it can't, it will provide black bars because I said it must maintain aspect ratio. So there you can see this is a live project. I have Chrome open and we can move between. I'm just using the installed demo. It's the Maps and Adroit HMI demo. You can install it as part of the product. We are moving through some examples here. What I'm showing you now is running on a browser, but obviously it's running on my laptop. You can go and play around with it. When you pinch and zoom, you'll get the same effect as this. Because I fit everything in at the moment, I'm not zooming. The whole graphic form is fit into this view. So that's an example of the Smart UI. Let's see if I can open one quickly for the Classic. So this would be the Classic UI. Depends on the resolution that I've defined over here as well. Same principle applies. And again, I'm using Chrome. I'll minimize that one. We go back here. Okay. I believe that's it for my demonstration this morning. Thank you very much for attending. I'm sure this will also go onto our YouTube channel, so you can refer to it later. Sam, I'm not sure if there's normally a space for questions or anything like this behind a webinar. You can let me know. If anyone has any question, they're also welcome to let me know, or you're welcome just to send an email and we can discuss it further. We can have a live example with you on your project. So if you don't have a question right now and you think of something, or you want to ask something later, just specific to your project, feel free to contact me or to send an email to those two email addresses. Let me just go back to those two.
So I believe there is a question in the comment section.
Okay.
That was posted quite early in the conversation.
All right. Thank you for. Let me open it.
Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you now. Okay, I see.
Sorry.
I see Ruben already asked a question very early on. He said, how many Android Air licenses are available for on-cloud? Ruben, there are two versions. The on-cloud has, there are two versions, let's say, on the list, on the price list. The one is 5 clients and less, and the other one is 10 clients or less. And they are linked to scan point sizes of less than 750 or scan point sizes of more than 750. Then we also have enterprise agreements. So we have service level agreements and technology agreements where air licenses can be included specifically for your agreement, because I know you have one as well. In your project case specifically, there can be, if I remember your agreement, there's 10 air licenses available. Then Henk asked a question. He heard it can be used for classic UI and smart UI. On the other hand, the SNG has one design environment. Very good question. So, of course, if you use smart UI and classic UI, the design environment is different. And Henk is correct in stating, then you can't use one design environment. The example I provided, let's just quickly go back to that one. There. So this one, sorry, I just provided the smart UI design environment. It is the same for the classic UI. You would still use the classic UI design environment for your classic UI project. It's not a separate one for the secure mobile gateway. You can use the same one. I think that I'm going through the questions quickly. I think those are the only questions I can see. Oh, Ruben has another one. Two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Very good question. At the moment, for the current release, it's not enabled. We are currently looking at single sign-on and two-factor authentication with Duo. So the relationship will be with Duo. There's one more that we're thinking about. I just want to look on my iPhone, which one I'm currently testing. Sorry, I'm just opening my iPhone. I think it's also Duo. So two-factor authentication is planned, I would say, within the first quarter of next year. When the on-premise is released, that will be the next focus. So two-factor authentication, what it means for those that need an explanation quickly. I'm sure most people do, so pardon me if I'm telling you something you already know. But essentially, you need more than a username and password to log into the system. A username and password, and then something additional, some other factor, like in most cases, what we see is you have a mobile device, and when you sign in on your mobile device, you need to approve the sign-in request as well. And only if you do this and you have a valid username and password in both cases, then you are allowed to log in. And so it's a much safer way. And even if a password gets lost, you still need the other factor to log in. So this is planned after the on-premise version. Okay, nice. Thank you for your time. I think it's essentially a half an hour. It's 27 minutes past the hour. I'll stick around for 1 or 2 more minutes if anyone wants to ask a specific question, maybe not in the public forum. But thank you very much again for your time. Feel free to send an email, and I hope you have, yeah.
There's another question.
Oh,
Sorry, we're
Alberto.
trying to unmute everybody, and for some unknown reason, it's not unmuting.
No problem. I like reading one question at a time, then I can at least concentrate. So keep it like that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm joking, but anyway. Okay, so isn't it a security flaw to have the password in the URL? It is. In a sense, this password is encrypted. So the reason you can see mine is because it's public. But it definitely is. Even sometimes if you log into a certain site, you'll see the password is in the post. You can define, in the GET request. So that top URL there is a very easy way for me. And it's very convenient, but definitely it's not that secure. You can also make the URL the password not part of the URL. So it's a little bit more difficult for the operator, but much more secure. So then you won't see the password in the URL. Henk said the fact that graphical classic UI smart UI data is converted. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. It is essentially providing a display surface for both the classic UI and the smart UI. And there's a security consideration that was done that the process is not running on your client, because if the process actually gets compromised, then your client could be compromised. In this case, it's a remote process, even if you run on-premise. But both the classic UI and the smart UI data is converted correct. That's correct what you're saying, is converted to HTML5. And then when you change a set point, for example, that's again sent back via HTML5, but then translated into your, let's say, your standard classic UI or smart UI environment.
Last question.
Oh, if there's more questions, don't worry. You're welcome to ask. Those that need to leave are welcome to leave as well. So let's see. Ruben said, will a password policy be added like password complexity? Yes, it will. And the reason I'm sighing slightly is because what we've done is we added password complexity in the past and then had several complaints because it's inconvenient. Now they need to add lowercase, uppercase. The operators forget what they've added. I always say with increased security comes increased inconvenience. The two is mutually exclusive. If you want more convenience, you have less security. The same with the URL. But you're absolutely right. And password complexity is already provided to a certain level. It's just not enforced. So right now, the enforcement of the policy is up to you. You need to enforce it. You can actually add any password. I think it has to be at least 8 characters, but that's all. It could be anything. So no enforcement yet. Will it be added? Yes, it will. But it won't be by default. I think it will be, you have to configure the policy yourself.
Okay.
Is that it?
Hi, Fritz. Keith, yeah.
Hi, Keith.
Droid 8?
No. So you have to upgrade to Adroit 10 or Maps. So that would be Maps 3. And Maps 3 is Adroit 8. So no, it's Maps 4 and Adroit 10.
Okay, thanks, man.
Okay. Fritz Alberto sent a message as well.
Okay, Alberto said, do you need a remote desktop server to support multiple classic or client UIs? Let's just say clients. With the on-premise version, yes, you may need it. We have cases where it works completely within the IT. It depends on the IT environment. So we have cases where it runs on a standard Windows 10. It has to be at least enterprise if it's a desktop version. But I do recommend a server edition of Windows. So yes, when you use the on-premise version, you need at least a Windows Server edition. Windows Server 2012 is actually still supported by the Secure Mobile Gateway, even though by Microsoft it will soon be unsupported. So let's say Windows Server Edition 2016 or higher. Okay, Ruben, you're welcome to contact me for the password policy. Okay, is that it?
I think so.
Thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful Wednesday.
Thank you, Fritz.
On my side, please, you need to take special leave at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Japan is playing against Germany. I'm based in Germany. I won't ask you who you're supporting, but maybe switch on the television or view it on your mobile phone.
Okay.
Thanks, Fritz.
Enjoy.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Fritz.
Thank you, Fritz.
Bye,
Have a great
everyone.
day.
Bye.
Thank you, Fritz. Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Bye.
Fritz. Bye-bye.